Hello and welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm John Bachman. We're here in Palm Beach at the Global Economic Forum of the Americas with Shawkat Aziz, a former Prime Minister of Pakistan, also was a former Finance Minister of Pakistan as well. Mr. Aziz, thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.
So these are incredibly important times in Southwest Asia and also very important for U.S.-Pakistani relations. And there was a new announcement. It was expected, but I wanted to get your take and see if this is a big deal that U.S. relations with Pakistan have been restored, if you will, to before the Salalah incident where 24 Pakistani soldiers were shot and killed at a border, on the Pakistani-Afghan border. Is this an important announcement to have a formal, official recognition of U.S.-Pakistani relations returning to normal?
In a way, yes, but I think the key issues still remain, which is the presence of NATO forces in Afghanistan, their planned withdrawal, and would that create a vacuum of any sort in the security situation there? And if so, how do we tackle it? So there are major challenges ahead of us. Clearly, the United States and Pakistan have been working closely, and Pakistan has had the privilege of being the most allied ally of the United States and the most sanctioned ally of the United States. So it's a complex relationship, to put it mildly.
Well, let's talk about Afghanistan in just a moment, but a couple other things focused specifically on Pakistan. I want to talk about PervezMusharraf, who's back in Pakistan now. He's seeking political office, but at the same time, he's doing court for treason. For Americans who don't pay attention to the day in, day out of Pakistan, what should they make when they're reading these headlines about PervezMusharraf back in the news, seeking political office again?
Obviously, the return of President Musharraf, former president, is his own decision, and I think every person is entitled to do what they think is appropriate. The legal cases, Pakistan today is a democratic society. People are free to express their views, and people can file cases against anybody, including current and former leaders. So in that situation, and the judiciary is very independent and has had a positive impact on the quality of governance in Pakistan. So if there are cases, I think the former president has his group of lawyers who will represent him, and I'm sure that fair play and justice will prevail.
And here in America, there is some question remaining on what knowledge President Musharraf had of bin Laden being in Pakistan at the time.
As regards the presence of somebody like Osama bin Laden and other such people, clearly there have always been reports of movement across borders between Afghanistan and Pakistan of people who are wanted for some reason or the other. The reason being, it's 1,400 miles of border. The terrain is very tough. You can't physically block it. And so that could happen. However, my personal view, and this is a personal view, is that nobody in our security apparatus or leadership was really 100% sure where any particular person like Osama bin Laden was. I think if that were the case, you would have had circumstantially to a very different scenario than when the Navy SEALs went in.
Let's talk a little bit more about the future of democracy in Pakistan. I want to talk about a new report released by the British Council, was quoted in Time magazine, and it focused specifically on younger Pakistanis, 18-35 age range. 96% of those surveyed said that the country was headed in the wrong direction. Only 29% said they favored democracy as a form of government, and 40%, close to 40%, said they think Sharia law might be the best form of a government moving forward. Do those numbers trouble you?
No, not really. I think, first of all, whenever I see a survey like that, the British Council is a very prestigious organization, but I'm not aware of their expertise in getting, if it were the Gallup poll or something like that, it would have more traction in my mind, certainly. But having said that, I think the sample has to be looked at and in what context these questions were asked. The fact is that Pakistan is a country which has a very healthy, free environment at the moment for people to express their views. And number one. Number two, religion is something very personal in every society, faith. This is in the United States, anywhere else, people have a view. But that doesn't mean that if they are devout, that they don't believe in the type of governance which the country has.
So you're not concerned about move to more stringent forms of Islam hindering the development of democracy?
I think this also is misunderstood. Islam is a complete code of life. Islam has gives you a lot of freedom. Sometimes in certain societies it may be interpreted very narrowly for various reasons, historic, political, etc. But the fact is, Islam is a very rational faith, like all other faiths.
Sure.
Actually, if you look at all the faiths today in the world, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, etc., the basic values of any faith are very similar. Peace, be helpful to each other, say the truth, etc., etc. Those common values transcend religious barriers. Sometimes people take differences in how a faith was spread or who spread it to really create fault lines in society, which really don't achieve any objective. So, I'm a Muslim, I'm proud to be a Muslim. I don't see any other faith really as having different values than mine, and we practice our religion in any way we like. I practice it the way Muslims do, and so on and so forth. The poll results may also be a symptom of some lack of some dissatisfaction in the youth, which is a global phenomena today. People are having difficulty getting jobs around the world. You look at the jobless figures, you see that in this country too. That creates frustration. People have been educated, people have skills, but they can't really use them. So everybody wants to have a better future, and all this, then people look for a different way of doing things. But the fact is, religion and faith is always there. It provides a certain environment for you to function. But at the end of the day, then you need economic management, you need leadership, you need reforms. And one of the weakest links in the world today, as I see it, is lack of effective structural reforms. Whether you're a developed country or a developing country, everybody needs that. And very rarely do leaders mention it. That is really how things will change.
I want to follow up with the overarching issue in the region, and of course that is the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, and what it's going to mean for Pakistan as well as India and other countries in the region. What do you think is the most important aspect of this process to make sure that democracy can grow not only in Afghanistan but also in Pakistan, and what does the global community need to do to participate?
First of all, in Pakistan it has grown quite a bit, and it's heading in the right direction in terms of democracy. But the withdrawal of forces from Afghanistan in the long run is a good thing. If you look at the history of Afghanistan, they've never been occupied.
Right.
And when you have the presence of foreign troops, no matter where they are from, that gives forces who want to create an element of uncertainty and dissension a platform that, look, we are being, for whatever reason, people are dying, people don't like foreign troops being there, people don't like, helicopters appearing and shooting them. Now, they were there for a reason. We all know that.
Right.
But the key challenge to leadership in the world and in the region is to see how this phenomena will move out. So that's why you need a good exit strategy, a healing strategy, rather than just going in and then suddenly cutting and run. Cutting and run leaves a vacuum. When a vacuum is left, forces who are negative or disruptive can take over or can have a big influence. And that's how crises develop and go from one to the other. So Afghanistan, I think, is a country where, number one, the economic development of Afghanistan is key to make it a robust state and not go into a situation where it appears like a failing state. And who benefits the most? Its neighbors. Pakistan being a neighbor where I've often said Afghanistan and Pakistan are joined at the hip. What happens there affects us. What happens on our side affects them. So you need an economic program where investment will come in. You need peace. You need to unleash the private sector. So they have to come out with a plan. And I have often said that you need a Marshall Plan type approach. I underline type approach. Somebody said Marshall Plan, that was a different scenario. No, I mean a plan which would give a framework for Afghanistan to develop, to unleash the forces of investment, unleash job creation, etc., etc.
But without the U.S. military presence as robust.
And I think there's still a debate going on what the level of withdrawal will be. Will they leave a certain number of troops as insurance? You know, all that can be, if that is agreed between the U.S. and the other stakeholders, and most importantly, the people and government of Afghanistan, so be it. But I think these have to be choreographed very carefully. Leadership is needed, diplomacy is needed, so that we come up with this is a real turning point. It's a very historic moment for Afghanistan. If we handle the exit right, if the exit strategy, as I keep repeating, is choreographed in a way that all these factors are kept in mind, you could have a different Afghanistan. And I think the leadership there is wise enough. They know this, and they need to ensure peace. The domestic forces have to come together, with the Pashtuns, the Taliban, the Hazaras, the Panshiris, and the Tajiks all have to come together to think of Afghanistan as a nation, one nation, rather than a division or an amalgamation of various different groups pulling in different tribes and cultures, pulling in different directions. That takes leadership. We are back to leadership. And leadership domestically, it won't come from overseas, has to make this known and explained and understood by the people of Afghanistan. It's their future. And if they do well, all of us as neighbors will do well.
Well, it's good to hear your optimism on this subject.
Thank you.
Mr. Aziz, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.